peace, Barghani, Islam, Salam, Hetep, Rahubat, General Lakuminani, Chief Noble Bandele Elamine, and once again in the building, we got King El Bay, and we ready to set it off today. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up? King L Bay in the building with my man Chief Bandele. We're gonna drop this knowledge on y'all as it relates to the treaties, some operations. You need to understand the operations of law on how this stuff works from all different layers, from international, the national standard, and in the domestic levels.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. So, hey, where can they reach you?
They can reach me on Facebook. I got my Facebook. Go to King L Bay as it's spelled. If you can see it in the caption, it's Keng space ELBEY King L to the Bay on Facebook. I got an Instagram, King L Bay Instagram, um, and I got a YouTube channel, the Moorish Universal Society of Tribes. So you can reach me, contact me. Also, we'll be putting our numbers up so you can personally contact me also with that information.
Most definitely. Y'all know, check out my books, Bandele Elamine on Amazon.com. And also check out indigenousservices.webs.com, the one-stop shop for all your Moorish and indigenous needs. All right. So with that being said, let's let's get into the meat of this. Uh, so look, we've been talking about treaties, all right? We've been already done a couple videos, and so now now we dealing with it from another angle, I guess you could say. So what else are you wanting to talk about with the treaties, man? Like, what else you want to bring?
So we need to understand the operations of treaties as it relates to the individuals. Because I remember I told you treaties are property. So we have to understand those individuals who wrote the treaty and how they tailored that treaty so it can operate in a capacity that the individuals can reap those benefits of those treaties.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So I want to get into the treaties itself so that we can understand certain language in the treaties because you got to understand these treaties have been ratified into domestic law. They're not just on um, international standpoint because you got to remember treaties as it relates to the highest is the highest form of law, and we got to understand when we're dealing in treaty law as it relates to titles in rem. When you have a treaty in rem, that means that no other person can make a claim regarding these rights or benefits as it relates to this property. So we got to understand self-executing treaties as it relates to adoptions of treaties as 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 other nations adopt these treaty rights and ratify them into their domestic law. So now they're self-executing through every, on a national standpoint, through every region or every state of the United States as it relates to this treaty being self-executed. Because now every state, every municipal court, every court has to recognize this.
Okay. Um, So okay, you say they've all been basically ratified for all 50 states.
Right.
I mean, so why the brothers ain't been able to use it?
Because of misappropriation. They don't understand how to utilize the treaty in the proper language. First of all, they're probably in the wrong venue. They don't know, because you got to remember this: states don't have jurisdiction over Moors. So when you dealing with the rules, you got to remember there are civil rules of procedure that need to be followed. So most of us don't put in a change of venue immediately asking for original jurisdiction for this matter to be heard on. And then you got to understand the proper um you got to understand and follow the proper instructions, and understanding what to do with this treaty under international law. So you got to have the proper documentation, you got to have the proper interpretation of the treaties, and you have to be in your proper status to even administer the treaty.
Okay,
Anybody
so
cannot administer the treaty.
okay, so what's the proper status to be
So
able to administer?
you got to understand, under the treaty, one of the proper statuses that you have to be, as it relates to treaty, you have to be in a ministerial position as a counselor,
Okay,
to be able to administer or because that's what the word a ministerial come from. Administer, administerial. You have to be able to administer, right, the
okay,
the content. You have to be able to interpret this and understand what this is.
I
This
got
is
you.
not for like the regular layman. The average Moor don't know how to do this.
Nah, they don't. Really don't, man. I mean, most of the Moors I know haven't been able to, I guess, crack the code, man. I mean, they don't know many of them. So, I mean, I think this is really important to understand. Um, so,
So you got to remember the Constitution, right? In the
right,
Constitution, it talks about, right? And I broke this down in one of my videos, and I was breaking it down. It talks about citizens. It says subjects, citizens, and citizens of foreign nations. So if you're a subject or a citizen, you cannot bring these claims forward. You have to bring the person in the proper status, have to bring this claim for you.
what you saying though? They have to bring the claim for you, before you. You say, or
What I'm saying to you, if you don't have the proper status, if you're a subject or a citizen of a foreign power,
yeah.
you do not have the power or delegated authority to speak on such issue.
I
Only
got
a particular person with the authority can bring such um, argument or position of law into play in the courtroom.
I got you. Okay, okay. So, what is the proper status to be in?
Well, I talk about the counselor. That's one of you have to be a counselor or a head of state. They tell you you have to be a minister of foreign affairs or head of state. You have to be of a position of authority
Okay.
as an official who can administer the treaty. It has to be delegated to you.
Okay. I got you. So I got you. So you're saying that okay, you have to be in the status of minister, counselor, or minister that this organization or whatever has adopted that treaty, right?
Well, the treaty, as to us, that is our right of inheritance. It's unalienable. They can't lean
Mm,
that.
uh, okay.
Under the
It-
laws of succession, those treaties were scoped and made for us to inherit as a benefit to us because those treaties were grants to the United States to allow them. This is how they gained their sovereignty. So
mm,
this was a grant to them, right? So this allow us, this is our inherited right. They can't lean it. This is why they made it so confusing for us to identify ourselves as more with in the proper context so they can sever that inheritance.
all right, brother. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, man. That's interesting. So status. Uh,
So when we talk about status, I already know you have to. So you have to be like a minister. So like you have a minister. Like so, you see other countries they might have a minister of foreign affairs.
right,
Might have a minister of treasury, a minister of
right,
defense. Right. You
right.
have to be in the proper status, delegated under that political body infrastructure to be able to handle such assignment as to represent the organization and enforce the treaty. So it has to be delegated to you under an assignment under the political banner of your institution.
Okay, okay. I got you. I got you. So basically, what kind of organization does this have to be?
An organization.
I mean,
So
like, I mean, what I'm saying,
one of
like,
the
what?
things that we have to incorporate, right, is the people who wrote that. What was what was their ethnicity? What was their political standpoint? Was it incorporated in their belief system? So we already know that those Moors who wrote those treaties, they was Islamic. So Islamic
Yeah,
law is incorporated in the treaties. They were identified not only as Moors, but Muslim.
true.
So these are the political identities, right? If you are more in a Muslim, right, who adopted these treaties, you were automatically qualified. Or I ain't gonna say qualified, you would benefit from that treaty.
I got you. If you can adopt them, that's the key. Now you said they was already ratified. It already was ratified.
These treaties are ratified within the context of the United States, so that means they are now a part of their domestic law as it relates to what's going on in the public realm.
I got you.
So that it's enforceable.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, like you said adapting the treaty, or what's the word to
Adopt.
so adopting we're adopting the treaty, and I mean I mean I'm not trying to put it all out there, but it's like how you just adopt a treaty. Is it have something to do with the status of the organization, or what, or like what, how, I mean, because I mean I don't think none of the Moors have done that. I don't think none of them. I don't.
Well, one of the things you have to get to do is you got to get the United States to recognize you as a Moor. So a lot of this, that's why you got Moors going to court, getting on their birth certificates Moor, right? So
Right.
that is a court order that's automatically recognizing your status as a Moor, right? There's other ways to do it to get other Moorish institutions to identify you as a Moor, or you make that such claim, understanding that institution is a Moorish institution, and you know how to contract it and put all of that into play.
Okay. Hey, it was something I was about to say in reference to that, but go ahead, keep going. Hey, it was something you said that I mean it'll come back to me, man. But anyway, uh, if so, uh, with that with that being said, is the status is that status making you foreign to the jurisdiction?
What, when you say what status for is what?
Status that you come into as with the treaty.
You will be a deemed to be a foreign national.
Uh, okay, right. So you're looked at as a foreign national. Um, so like I'm just trying to think of that. I just it was a good question too, man. But okay, so back to the Moors though. Okay, with the Moors, them not being able to apply it over the years, they've tried to apply it in court. The Moorish Science Temple of America, I mean, they've been around for a long time. They don't have, I mean, do they have the capacity from what you know? I mean, like, is this something like where whatever organization you have, you can just adapt because you got a minister of this and minister of that? Or, I mean, like, oh, I know what it was now. We was talking about your status, right? And putting it down as uh, on your birth certificate. Well, okay, what about if you got a DNA test, right? And I know Brother Jamil had on his, it said that he had North American or Berber, or it said more in his blood in his DNA test.
Right?
Okay, so my question is, are those like valid or some kind of secondary kind of
That
documentation to
that
also?
can be used, but you also got to claim such identity because you got people who's made up of multiple nationalities or ethnicity, but they claim one.
Right, right,
So that individual still has to make the claim to that particular status, right, or that particular ethnicity, and say, "This is what I'm claiming. This is who I am."
right. So so with them making a claim, like as further evidence, if you will, having a DNA test,
A
or even like
DNA,
what?
okay,
Go
a
ahead.
DNA can be, it can be supplemented, it can be introduced as evidence, as compelling evidence, right, to
Right.
support his claim.
Okay.
But
Cause I
DNA
right,
is not a necessary component because
right.
none of this stuff, if they tell you on the Federal Directive 15 that none of this stuff is scientific. If you look at a 181, a SF 181 form, none of it is based upon scientific research. It's all about federal programs, receiving federal benefits, federal funds, federal funding. So it's about, it's tailored for their organization to say, you're receiving federal benefits, federal funding as it relates to how everything goes. This is how they able to establish if they got jurisdiction or not. These are some of the things that they establish, and this is the premise of what they doing, so that they can try to sustain jurisdiction, do what they call minimum contact.
Right. Yes, definitely minimal contact. So minimal contact can basically get you got. You know what I'm saying? If you don't follow or understand it. Um so um what was I saying? So basically basically what we got going on with this is everything's just been misdirected. Like for us as melanated people, it's like the Moors are trying to like understand it, and it's still it's like it's always something else, if you know what I mean. Like like the Moors, they trying to understand law, but even the sovereigns, they're trying to understand the law and interpret it, but they got this, they missing something. And I guess
To make
what
it easy for us, right?
yeah,
You got to remember the law followed the property.
okay,
So you got to remember a treaty is property, just like a will is property. When they wrote those treaties, that treaty became property of a particular group, right? And they have the right to inherit that. So when you write a will, right, that's property of your estate. That your son, that will now is property in which your son has the right to benefit from that property.
so I mean when you so when you said it like that, it's like basically they took away, like you said, our inheritance. So as a as an evidence of our inheritance, we have the treaty,
Right.
right? Which that's deep though, bro. Like that's really deep, man. So like even with that being said, like let's go into like what you call reparations. I mean, like now you got a value of something of value to place on it to get it, in the sense of okay, you lost our inheritance. Our heritage was this treaty. It was not done correctly, so there's a right to sue for damages.
Right.
I mean, is that out? Is that too?
Because this is what they did. This is what they trying to justify. They trying to say that slavery was the legal action. It was legal, right? But the fact is that our records got damaged, lost, or whatever, right? We have to have proof that it was done with intent, because the element of criminality is always the criminal is intent. So we can go from intent, right? Everything start with intent, then it breaks down to negligence. And the highest form of negligence is gross negligence, right? Then you got willful negligence, then you got negligence, and then you got misconduct, right? So all of these things we can grab hold to one of them. Was their intent to deprive of us this? Was it? Or was it gross negligent? Or was they negligent
I got you.
in
Right.
such capacity where we can reach and say we can get reparations under this element of degree, and saying now it don't have to be intent. It can be that they were grossly negligent by mishandling records that they knew was sensitive and vital, right, to our inheritance. Because you talking about putting somebody into slavery or
True.
putting someone or stealing their birthright.
Right.
Right. No.
So okay.
Cool.
So
So
is,
yeah, go ahead.
is there a value to the treaty? Like
Yeah, it's a birthright.
it's a monetary value.
Yeah, it's a
How,
birthright.
and how is that determined?
Now that's a good question. How it's determined, that's going to have to be negotiated, because you got to understand, when you steal somebody's birthright or their right of inheritance or
Yeah.
their identity of these people being a superior people, right? You take us and make us second class, third class citizens, subjugate us into slavery and all of this, right? What kind of monetary value you can put on that? Is that in the trillions? Is that in the billions? You see what I'm saying? Because you strip somebody of their inheritance, because that treaty was property of is their property, and their right of inheritance under such treaty where they were supposed to benefit, because you made an agreement that you wouldn't do certain things, that you wouldn't enslave these people. These people gave you a grant to do what you did, and you were supposed to be honorable in your dealings. But some things went wrong and people got misclassified.
Okay. So when you talk about that, what you exactly mean, man, by misclassified? You talking about like during the period where they were the $5 Indian, or I mean, like what, like just being mislabeled and misnomer black Negro in color.
Of course, being late. See, a lot of us, right? You got to think about it. A lot of us, right? So let's think about our family pool, right? We, with our international community as Moors come in all shades, size, colors, hair texture, and all of that, right? So we are the one group, right? This is why I talk about the will being the most important document, because the will keep you connected to your family lineage.
True. True.
But when we talk about the use of the treaty as it relates to us, we must got to understand how we need to appropriate all of this, because we're trying to appropriate these treaties where we can maximize the benefit of such treaty. So the treaty can directly benefit us in such a way within that boundaries of the courtroom.
Got you. Got you. Hey, dropping jewels, brother. Hey, y'all, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Okay. Share this video to everybody. Let them know, you know, that this is, you know, some information that's vital to, you know, not just the upliftment, but the thriving of melanated people. Okay. So um I'm trying to think, brother. It was something else too that I wanted to ask. So I mean, you know, with all this being said, oh, I mean, you know, another thing we haven't talked about, like with when you talk about the counselors and the ministers, right?
Let's
Like I
just
say,
state
are
heads
they
of state. Let's use the term heads of states.
okay? Heads of state. When you say that, and you're talking about heads of state, that often puts me in the mind of something else being um, foreign, right? Okay, this is supposed to be foreign to the United States jurisdiction, right?
Right.
Foreign, we call them foreign nationals. Now, with that being said, a foreign national, how does that relate to like an international protected person, or is there any?
Well, we got to understand since these treaties have been ratified, they are a part of domestic law. So we on a domestic side should be protected as foreign nationals. Once you understand how status is rendered and how to make sure that you properly change your status so that everything aligns so that you can get your treaty benefits, you automatically are protected under that treaty. You are protected.
I got you. So okay, so being so solely just from the treaty, it protects you as a foreign national. Now, if you're a foreign national, what is being a
Not just
more
as a foreign national, it has to be
but
particular, to the treaty as a more as it relates to that. Because
so
you
it has
have
to be
multiple foreign nationals, like you got people
heads
from
of state.
Russia, China, and all of that.
It's got to be heads of state, though. That was you.
These are the people that can deal with these treaty issues and bring it in a courtroom on a legal matter. They can go to court and argue this. But the treaty itself, once you understand who you are, what you are, and you get everything right, the treaty's supposed to cloak you and give you the protection in the United States.
Okay, so going back, like I said, what kind of organization are we talking about that's going to be able to do this? What kind of
Well,
organization?
well, the issue is not so much the organization, right? It's the people coming together, making, creating the organization. It's the people. Do these people have a right of inheritance to inherit these treaty benefits? Right? Because the people make up the organization. It's the people who come together who classify themselves as such necessary people and go and move and start an organization because the organization is only there to work for the benefit or in favor of the people. Ain't nobody gonna put an organization together not to help them or help a particular cause. So the organization is going to help the cause, but it's the people in themselves that once they're get in their align with their proper status and understand their proper inheritance, they can go make a claim on the treaty.
I got you. I got you. All right,
And
y'all.
you don't necessarily need a organization to do so. You can do it as an individual. You don't have to create an organization to do such thing. You can do it on a, it can be a person by person situation.
Okay, my brother. Okay. So, hey, though, this is heavy though, man. Like just the fact, just the fact that we talking about property, right? And property being a treaty, or like we talked about before, property being a form of a contract.
Right.
Even with that being said, contract create a contract that can create a value of worth
Right.
that we can put a price on as a value that if broken or violated by somebody like let's say somebody outside of the agreement try to interfere in the contract. Is that like something like you know what I mean? Like
Well, it's like this, right? This is why the United States always hits you with a interstate commerce charge. And each interstate commerce charge offense has a particular value, right? So I'm gonna make it real simple for us, right, as a nation and what we need to be doing and why we need to be industrials, because this is ineffective with our ability to do commerce. So how I'm gonna make it real simple for us to understand. I always use this LeBron James scenario. Let's say the police whoop LeBron, right? LeBron get if let's say he get 250,000 per game. He missed 3 games. This police force owe him 750,000 because they whooped him and caused him to miss 3 games. They got to pay his contract, satisfy his obligations of his contract, and whatever pain and suffering that equates that is going to be negotiated on the damage associated on if he's going to miss out on endorsements. He had maybe a movie deal, a commercial deal, or what other contracts that have value. So when we dealing with even with our birth certificates as Moors under our nation, we got to give each other commercial value as it relates to us saying that our nation is our what we provide for our people, these intangibles is worth this. And based upon the stripping that took place, we missed hundreds of years, which can equal can easily be billions